In this video, I'm sharing with you my latest comic book haul. Included is one of my comic book grails and the most I have ever spent to this point on a single comic. Hey guys, this is John and you're watching Old Stuff is Cool. So I do have a very exciting comic haul to share with you today. It's a mixture of online and in-person sources, so that's always exciting. And amidst the key issues and filler issues, we actually have one of my comic book grails, as well as two of my 2025 goal books. It's been a very busy time, just life-wise. I recently came back from a family trip to Japan, where we spent about 8 days visiting the areas of Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. It was a whirlwind trip, but it was packed full of memories. The kids enjoyed it. It's the first time they've been outside the United States. And although I didn't have any comic book related pickups, I did take a little bit of footage of the Japanese versions of some American trade paperbacks. Keep an eye on my YouTube shorts for that. And all around, just being an anxious traveler in general, I'm just glad there was really no hiccups. I mean, there was a delay in the return flight for one of the legs, but outside of that, we made all our flights, no luggage was lost. I really count myself lucky. During that trip too, I also celebrated my birthday, and it's one more year. Just to keep it a little vague, I'm in my 40s, and I actually forget my age, the specific age, all the time. I feel young at heart. I feel like hobbies like comic books and action figures probably help lend to that. But the reason I mention it is that some birthday funds opened up and kind of went into the Big Grail purchase. We'll get more into that when I share the book in question, but we have a lot of comics to get into. And before we get any further, if you want to help support the channel, please do all the YouTube things, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like comic haul videos and comic book content, then please, I encourage you to check out the other videos on my channel. All right, so let's get into it. First batch of books comes from Counterplay Comics over in Burlington, Massachusetts. Of the 3 hauls, this is the one in person that I'm sharing with you. This is my second time visiting the store, and I always have great conversations with the store owner, Eric. And on top of that, I always find a nice stack of back issues to pick up. Nothing crazy, mind you, but one thing that happened in both my visits, probably on account of buying a number of books, is that Eric will tally up the total and then slash the price. So this batch of books came out to about $2 a piece, which I'm quite happy with. So the first one is Daredevil number 220. Just kind of picking up cool Daredevil covers. Not going for a full run or anything like that, but I am on a huge Daredevil kick. Just started the first episode of Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus, and I've been reading a lot of Daredevil, so just really like this cover. I think that's what it came down to. So pick that guy up. But as far as a key issue goes, I also found Daredevil 227, and this is the first part of the Born Again story arc. Great cover here too, heavily featuring Kingpin in the background, and this cover is by David Mazzucchelli. And the third Daredevil book I got, it's kind of easy to swallow that name there. It's issue 319, and this is the prologue to Fall from Grace. I am now just one part away from completing that story arc. It's where the black and red armor gets introduced. It's a wild story, but I quite like it. There's some glow-in-the-dark covers. It's very 90s and all that, but this is almost a black and white cover, minus a very small Daredevil there, right there, little dot in red. Happy to pick that up. Also picked up Fantastic Four 290. And this helps in going to my John Byrne run of Fantastic Four. And then to wrap things up from this purchase, we got some Wolverine. Wolverine 23, featuring a stellar, I feel like iconic, it's fair to say iconic cover by John Byrne. And also Wolverine number 36. This is an upgrade to a very beat to heck copy that I had. This is a Mark Silvestri cover, but I think something about it is kind of Jim Lee-esque. And I think there's a lot of overlap between the style of Mark Silvestri and Jim Lee. This is probably one of the, I would point people here for it if there are any doubters. So, I can't recommend enough checking out Counterplay Comics if you're in the area or if you find yourself in Massachusetts. And I'll be going back there to dig again for back issues and complete runs. So moving on is the second of 3 purchases, and this is from Harvey Das Comics. For those of you who have watched other videos on my channel, every time I have a dollar book haul, it's usually from Harvey Das Comics. They have a claim show, you claim on the wall. This is not a dollar book show. They had gotten in a collection like a month or so ago, and while they were all priced, it's probably from like a former comic book store that might have closed down, but they're basically just slashing everything by 50% off. And it's a mix. Sometimes with the discount, a book would be like a decent price, but there are definitely some deals to be had. I scored a nice variety of books, but also I think some key issues. So first up, I'm getting Batman issues here and there, although I'm primarily a Marvel fan. But we got Batman Annual number 14 here. This features a stellar Neil Adams cover, and it tells the origin of Two-Face Harvey Dent. I first saw this cover, I think, from a video by Noah from Broke Boy Comics. So shout out to Noah. Link to his channel in the description below. He's a huge Batman fan, and I don't know, I just really was taken by this cover. It's from the 90s, 1990 Annual, so it's a later work of Neil Adams, relatively speaking, of course, and just had to pick that up. And following that, I have a fantastic variant cover of Usagi Yojimbo number 31. I have Usagi Yojimbo in trade format mostly. I read it, my sons read it. Greatly enjoy that title. I don't usually go for the single issues, but I also love Peach Momoko, and I just had to get this. This is the only floppy single issue of Usagi Yojimbo I have, but I am a fan of the character, a fan of the stories, so I might have to keep my eye out for other variants. The rest of the stack from this sale from Harvey Das Comics is primarily Marvel. Let's first get the appetizer out of the way, something to whet the palate. We have Dazzler number 11. Again, always think of Nate from Hall Yeah Comics when I get some Dazzler. Issue number 10 features Galactus. This is the follow-up to that storyline and has Terrax, the Heralds. I love Galactus, I love the Heralds, Silver Surfer, so that's the main reason why I picked this up. And also some additional Fantastic Four John Byrne filler, issue 249, featuring Gladiator and the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, as well as issue 255. I'll try to move quickly past the filler. We have some Uncanny X-Men filler. I'm pretty happy at the pace that I'm moving as far as getting that Claremont run. So issue 223, a Mohawk Storm fighting a giant snake. And that's followed by Uncanny X-Men 247. And I actually haven't read this issue. I think Mark Silvestri's on art. And the main thread here, I believe, is a version of Master Mold, I want to say. Following that, we've got some Moon Knight. These are actually the last 2 issues of the initial Moon Knight run. So first we have issue 37. And I had to double check. I'm not familiar with the artist, but I thought this actually looked very reminiscent of Todd McFarlane. This is probably just a little early for when Todd might have been working in comics. I just really like this. I just really like this cover. It is the second last issue and features the origin of Mark Spector. And then we have issue number 38. This was the final issue of that first Moon Knight series. And I did, pick up the Moon Knight Omnibus Volume 1, but I think there's some covers and some key issues of that run I would still love to pick up in the single issue format. There's some great Bill Sienkiewicz covers, so Moon Knight, big fan. Following that, we have Marvel 2-in-1 featuring Thing and Man-Thing. This is issue number 1. This is a series that I've been collecting. I don't know if I'm going to go for the full run, but there are so many just fun stories featured in this arc. This one was interesting, having read it now. It has a story where they're fighting the Molecule Man's son. And I think all this was kind of retconned later on, where they kind of upped the power of Molecule Man, because technically he dies in this issue and his son's out to get revenge. I think it was all, they kind of hand-waved it away, but I did really like just seeing Thing and Man-Thing. You know, they kind of have a little bit of a bond, but also just to have the first issue of a kind of a more vintage series, I just really like it. It's not in the most pristine of shapes, but I think for the price of, I think they got this for like $5. Good to have it, and it can always be upgraded later. This next one might be a little random, but it's Avengers 269. This kind of goes along with the story of the Council of Kangs and their introduction. This issue in particular has the battle of Kang against Immortus, kind of two different aspects of the same character. It also features the origin of Ramatut, the ancient Egyptian personality of Kang. Kang the Conqueror, just as a character, is confusing as hell, and there was a lot of spec on this book, given, we were supposed to get Kang Dynasty and all that stuff, but this was $2, and I think he's a classic Avengers villain, so if I can get the other parts of the storyline for a good deal, I'm definitely happy to do so. Then we have some great issues of Amazing Spider-Man. First up is issue 241, featuring a very nice cover by John Romita Jr. And this one, the story-wise, is the origin of the Vulture. Then, just a cover that I really like, issue 249. Hobgoblin, Kingpin, about to throw down. Good stuff. Then, issue 256, featuring the first appearance of Puma, an adversary, later ally of Spider-Man. Whoops, and I didn't realize that ASM was the last book from that pickup from Harvey Doss. So some great comics, great run filler, and just some interesting books all around. All right, so we've had the appetizer, we've kind of had a lighter first course, maybe a salad or a soup, but this is the entree, this is the main dish, and it comes from A1's Comics. Aaron has been a pleasure to deal with. I've made a purchase before, and in general, I think he's a trusted figure in the comics community. I know folks who have bought books that are worth hundreds, if not over $1,000. So in making a bigger purchase myself, it was good to have that foundation of a trusted seller. I mentioned at the top of the video, this is the most I've spent on a single book. And while I will not be disclosing how much I got each book for, I will say that this made me a believer in bundling, and it makes sense, when you spend over $100, over $200, and I will at least say that for these 3 books, it was over $200. But I think the final price, if you kind of, parse it out, it was definitely a great deal. Aaron was great in answering all my questions. Even the past where I haven't made a purchase from him, but just had some general questions, collecting questions or even grading stuff, he is so generous with his time. So I can't stress enough what a great experience it was with him. I would definitely buy any kind of key books or high dollar key books from him in the future. So for the books themselves, the first one I am happy to share with you is part of the Dark Phoenix saga from Uncanny X-Men, and that's issue 132. This features the first full appearance of the Hellfire Club. It also features the first appearance of Tessa, who later becomes Sage. And you guys know I'm on a hunt for all the parts of the Dark Phoenix saga. I knew going in that, the first Dazzler was going to be expensive. There are some pricier books in general, but I've been slowly chipping it away these past few months, and it's been a good test in figuring out, do I want mid-grade? Do I want something between mid and high grade? And that's kind of where I fell in here. I want to maybe something in between a 7.0 and an 8.0. I mean, higher is fine. Ultimately, if it's the right price, that's what I'm gonna go for. So in those conversations, Aaron definitely helped me figure out what I was going for. Because in the past, he's had a particular comic book in different grades. And it's good to see What does a 6.0 look like in, Uncanny X-Men 131 versus a 7.0 versus a 9.0? Super helpful. The second of 3 books I got was another part of the Dark Phoenix saga, and that's issue 134. This is where Jean Grey becomes the Dark Phoenix. So very key, pivotal moment in Uncanny X-Men history, and so happy to have these guys in the collection now. Now, prior to this, I've never spent more than, I think, I want to say like 150, 160 on a single comic book. Even then, it was within the past year or so, and I just want to encourage folks, spend within your means. Some of you out there might be like, I would never spend that much for a comic. Others out there might be like, oh, that's chump change. We're all in different financial situations. I just want to acknowledge that, and again, to encourage financial responsibility and spending within means. So I had a little birthday money to throw into this book. It is one of my grails. I think I said in the past where like, oh, younger me would never have imagined owning this. But I've had my eyes set on this one since getting back into comic books and getting into back issues. And that is Amazing Spider-Man number 300. The debated first appearance of Venom. I mean, some people will say issue 299. This is billed as the first full appearance. We got Todd McFarlane on art duties. Iconic cover that's been homaged so many times. And this falls right in that range I mentioned. I think Aaron had it around a 7.0, 7.5. And I realized, I don't need it to be pristine. I just need it to present well, which I believe it does. And flipping through the book before, I swapped it out for a My Light, which I like to put my key books in. It was just so fun to go through it. Again, owning kind of a piece of comic book history. I tend to collect more modern books, and I feel like this is a staple. This, probably like New Mutants number 98 and a handful of other books kind of would fall this category of, kind of any serious collector will probably either have one or have had owned one at some point. Now, I could have done like an unboxing of this because I will have to say I was taken aback just to have this in hand to know that this is my copy now. However, I will say it took like a week and a half to get over the jet lag from Japan because it's like a 13-hour time difference. But to properly show off this book, I wanted to be a little more cognizant, a little bit more with it when I present it to you guys. And that's this point now. So super duper happy I have an ASM 300 in my comic collection now. And so that completes my haul for this video. There are a lot of great books. I mean, ASM 300 and the parts of the Dark Phoenix saga are easily my favorites, but there are a lot of gems in there. So I'd love to hear from you. What were your favorites amongst the pickups? What were some of your recent keys or grails that you might have added to your collection? I'd love to hear from you, so please sound off in the comments. With that being said, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Take care.